Flame on! How's everybody doing tonight? I'm here with my special guest, Nick Lenz. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
All right. And today we're focusing on Boruto Chapter 2, Blue Vortex, Chapter 21. Yes, I know the next chapter release is a few days away, so we're a little late on this one. But it was either wait for the new chapter and do a double, or just do both separately back to back. And this way was better for our schedules.
hmm
But with that being said, you want to do a quick breakdown, Nick, or you want to just get straight into it?
Let's get straight into it. Chapter's called Marukan Shurigan. Makio Shurigan, which, well, at least that happens. So, by the way, we have a cover image of basically Sadara in her outfit, colorized. So now we know what the color of her outfit is. All black with traces of red. Okay?
Yeah.
And then we see Sadara looks like a flashback of prior to the time skip. I think this was her manga uniform because in the anime she has slightly different attire.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I guess because as the manga, just keep her in this outfit despite the fact that people probably like her other outfit better. So she's talking to Chocho, talking to Boruto about her becoming Seven Hokage. And then we see her like blushing at something, and then we see her running. We see Susumori, Naruto himself, probably the first time he's actually appeared in this series. Even as a flashback, but probably the first time he's physically been seen. Kind of. I can think of. And then we see Sadara running, and then we see her get tackled by Boruto, avoiding Kawaki. This is a flashback of how he got his scar across his eye that we see in present day. We see Mitsuke basically going to his sage mode, like all flashback stuff, like Marukan Shurigan. It basically, then you have Boruto explain about the Marukan Shurigan to him because the last chapter ended with basically her activating the damn thing. And yeah, and of course, Sadara explaining that the Boruto is not guilty of killing his parents. Her ability is capable of. And then we come finally back to present day. 10 pages in, we finally got back to present day. Looks like she's looking at the sky and she's activating Musa Fire. I think Musa Fire. And then we have one of the trees. I don't know which one this is. The one who has the black iron sand. And he is attacking Sadara, avoiding everything. And Sadara doesn't get a scratch on her. What is that black? It's of course they don't know about the Musa Fire. So Mitsuke, guard her and Yodo, and protect yourself. Sadara, your eyes. Don't worry, this building may have just awakened, but I already know what they can do. And the black iron sand comes right from the sand itself, and she just brushes by her. And then for some reason, the iron sand is getting absorbed into the black spear. I'm thinking it's the Musa Fire. And the guy's like, what the heck is going on? And there's more spears? There's like 3 more. Where are these coming from? Sadara. She's making them. With her eyes. And then she starts floating. Yes. Those of you curious, can characters float in Naruto? Yes.
To an
yes.
extent.
I think Naruto has done it when he's in the Sage 6 Pats mode. I think he's the only one who actually, I think he's one of like 2 or 3 who could do this. Because I know that Okai did this. I think his granddaughter could do this too. And I think that's it. That I can think of who actually could do this. Who could be like in the air like the way they were jumping. But it's a very rare ability. But Sadara doing it, this is interesting that she could do it because none of the Uchiha's ever did this before. I guess just because maybe because of the air allowed to float. And everyone's like, oh, she's floating. I bet it's gravitation force. And then, of course, basically the guy throws the sand at him. Sadara's not doing anything. Like, I'm being poured to the spear. Sadara's like, For too long, I averted my gaze. Fretted my goal become Hogaya have reached. Never do anything about all the calamities. I don't want to acknowledge. I mean, I'm scared. How powerless I am. So I looked away. And we see basically it's like they're saying this like from for the me who felt unsettled by class Russ feelings from my own feelings toward Boruto. Is she just acknowledging the fact that she might have things Boruto, this subject is never really acknowledged you for? That just
Hmm.
seems like through this dialogue. Oh, hey, movie theater king.
What's up, movie theater king?
And it seems like though, like, yeah, readers have known for quite a while. Yeah, hi Tibia. Readers have known quite a while. Summaries have think Boruto for quite some time. In the manga, before the anime, you can kind of see the reason why because of how Boruto saved her. In the manga, it's not really very clear about that.
I want to say they use the same backstory because again, the New Art was adapted from a light novel, like one of the pre-movie light novels. I want to say it was the first one. The first one was New Way. The second was the field trip, was the hit and miss field trip. The third was the New Way arc, and the fourth was the Guinea exam.
Mm-hmm.
Though I think the order, I could be off on the order, but I'm pretty sure those were what the main
Yes.
volumes were about.
Yeah, we're doing good, Tibia.
But
So
yeah. In the
yeah,
anime, they kind of build more up to it, but in the manga, she gets canonized in chapter 19 of part 1, chapter 18, chapter 19, and she pretty much confesses as a subplot of the Owl arc.
yep. Which they didn't technically adapt that from the anime in the scene that it happened. They showed it later. They showed like pretty much at the end of the arc about her implying she's got things for Boruto. Because I think of the manga that happened when they were leaving, they kind of rearranged stuff in that arc. So, rejecting the power inside of me. And the guy, and it, etc. And the guy's like, quit mumbling nonsense, you psycho. Philip calling Sandra a psycho? Seriously. Do you think she's crazy? And then he gets absorbed into the freaking spear. Actually, he's on top of the spear. It's like I'm not looking away anymore. Because of her myself, I can't take her out in front of me. I can't save a single person. And it looks like he's slowly, and then of course, the guy in charge of the group is feeling this via his chakra sense, whatever. If I dream to become Kage, I need to start by accepting myself. Myrakan Shurigan. Ahurme. And explain Ahurme is an alternate name for Asamasuru, the sun goddess, chief deity of the Shinto pantheon. That is interesting. The fact this is another name for Asamasuru. I look at that. That's definitely Asamasuru. Yeah, I'm surprised she called it by a different name. Or were you surprised about that?
To an extent, but a similar naming convention, so it works.
Yes, and like usually, anybody uses it for a period of time, Sadara's eyes start bleeding. And then it looks like that the guy is just evaporating the spear. It's like there's like dust everywhere. And it's implied she succeeded killing him. Though she's saved by Mitsuke. Like she's unconscious. She must use chakra. Yeah. And then a thorn bulb shows up. So the guy was Ryu. And Elda basically was like, Ryu's defeated. Taking up Sarah's new power. And Jingen's like, so it's awakened. Good. We managed to achieve one of the most critical goals of this battle. So the plan was to unleash Myrakan Shurigan? Like, he planned for to have Yude get injured so she can activate the damn thing? And of course, wait a sec, Koji. Answer me truthfully. Was there any chance Myrakan Shurigan awakening without anyone dying? I can say this much. If it had gone to help, it would definitely have awakened. But you knew Yoda would die, and you kept it from me, didn't you? I determined it was best not to tell you. in our current conversation provides me right. What about Masako Hamaru? Does he have any chance in Missouri? Answer me. You listen to me, Boruto. Juro is connected to all the vine trees of Sarah's senses. If you ever meet Missouri, Juro sees you in the flesh, and kill you. And I've seen premonitions of this. We're all the same ending. So Jigen is Kashikoji is working with Elda. Interesting. A little surprised about that. I get like these two knew each other. Well, actually no, they actually never met each other. But I'm surprised that he's working with her. And then we have Missouri. She's like, it's like, how dare you trick me? You pay for that. And then of course, then Boruto shows up. Yes, Boruto shows up to stop her. And then he proceeds to take Sasuke's sword and smash Missouri. And Josh goes like, that idiot here with everything. There you are, Osagaki Boruto. Wow. Two Usoka killed in the same chapter. One confirmed, the other is implied. Well, that was a very interesting chapter.
Indeed it was.
It accomplished what it was meant to do. Like, it felt, this one was 40 pages. It felt by quickly.
It did. No, granted, this was the tail end of a big fight scene. Don't get it wrong. This is like the beginning of. This is like kicking off. This is officially kicking off Volume 5. But so far, this was a pretty solid fight. I mean, Yodo was incapacitated. Mitsuki's barely adapting what's going on. We finally get, and I feel like this was the best approach Kishimoto could have done with Sarada's Mangekyo rather than rushing it right away.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, I've never seen a character killed being sucked into a spear before in Boruto, in either Naruto or Boruto.
To an extent, when Kakashi used the Kamui on Deidara, to an extent, but Deidara was able to break out of it in time.
Yeah, but I think this first successful one. Because I don't remember ever if this has been successful ever in the series.
Hold on.
I mean, not that I remember. I know it happened in the original Naruto series, or even Shippuden, I could think of. Because I think Deidara killed himself in the main in Shippuden.
Sorry about that, but
yeah. That was funny though, the fact that when he lost his first partner, he got played with Toby, which said to be an idiot, but it's like he was actually the mastermind behind the whole thing. And then it turns out he was a pawn for somebody else, who was pawn for somebody else, and pawn for somebody else.
Yeah, it's kind of a cycle.
Yeah, because first it was Toby, then Mandara, then Black Zetsu, and then Black Zetsu's mom.
Well, Nagato's in there somewhere.
Nagato was manipulated by Obito, kind of.
To an extent, I feel like it was tragic circumstance. I think he was aware of Obito was using Madara's name as a persona, but he didn't fully partner with him till after Yahiko's after Yahiko's death. Only after Yahiko died and Nagato completely snapped did he like, okay, we're doing this.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that we see Hanzo the Salamander a lot, basically under reincarnation jutsu. I mean, viewers know he's dead. But the weird thing is, the outside world never knew he died until he showed reincarnation jutsu.
It was never confirmed.
Yes, and the fact that he had passed with the guy from the Land of Iron.
The samurai. There was a rivalry there.
Yes, I'm like, because I don't remember this happening in the manga of this arc, but it felt as though this was complete filler. Like, complete original content with that. Do you feel as though with that
I
particular
want to
scene?
say they alluded to it in the manga, the Hanzo versus Samurai, the Samurai and Hanzo rivalry. They alluded to it in the manga, but Kishimoto didn't go into too much detail.
Yes, I know one guy who was on the reincarnated jutsu. He was definitely completely original. He appeared for one episode. It was during that period of time where Naruto is in uh the chakra mode, the ki
K-
mode.
KCM.
Yeah, and he's running. And he runs into him, and we have flashback about where he came from. Like, oh, that's where they went, and then he just disappears. One of like 2 or 3 times they had during this thing where you have characters just showing meet the canon characters, and somehow they knew them. One of whom was a guy who bullied um, Tamari, and turns out he actually was in love with her.
Hmm.
And she's like, "You bullied me." It's like she was not really embarrassed by it, but it seemed like though she wanted nothing to do with the guy at all. It
Well,
was the episode where it was like, "Oh, let's set all the rest, a bunch of filler characters for
yeah,
one episode."
yeah, he was technically dead, but still, you didn't have to cold hard deject the guy. I mean, he's already dead.
Yeah,
But yeah, that tangent aside, this was actually, in terms of the arc itself, I feel like this fight was dragged out. No, the payoff with Sarada's Mangekyo, that's the saving grace here. But the fight itself, it could have been cut back by 2 chapters
mm-hmm.
in terms of structure.
Yeah,
because this fight technically started at the beginning of volume 4. This fight lasted about a volume straight.
mm-hmm.
Between volume 4 and right now at the beginning of volume 5. Yep. Well, really, it's technically the second chapter of volume 5 in terms of structure,
mm-hmm.
which is a really weird place to pay off Sarada's Mangekyo. You think the reveal would be at the end of would be the cliffhanger at the end of a volume.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my only real gripe with the chapter so far. What about you?
Yeah, it went on a little while. So that's basically if fights last that long. And a lot of these are shonen series, so it's not a bit unusual per se. I mean, fight can't exactly last one chapter when it comes to shonen series. They have to last long time. Like one of the most famous fights in One Piece between I think it was Luffy versus
not Kaido. It was
Bronze. Yeah, it was the guy from Whole Cake.
Okay, yeah, that one that fight lasted almost like 2 volumes straight.
Yeah, in the anime, this lasted for almost 100. It seemed like it lasted about half the arc of Whole Cake. It was, I think, it was Katakuri. I think his name is the very tall guy with the weird mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that fight went on for a long time. Oh my gosh! And it's like the things with Big Mom's kids. It's like they're just so bizarre at how they act at times. And I'm like, she's obsessed with basically all these political stuff, but yet only officially one of her kids got married. And it was Clifton. And I'm like, F all the kids, she's the only one officially get married. Not Big Mom's oldest, the one who's 50, not Perospero, the guy with the great look. I hate the fact he's got his tongue. But yeah, he's still a bachelor. A lot of our kids are bachelors, bachelorettes for no reason. It's like, does she not care about her kids getting married? Does I have like 1 or 2? Or the fact she had like 100 kids? I'm like, good God. Well, they did mention she had like 23 husbands, but I'm like, that many kids? I think today for any manga fiction, I think she had the most amount of children out of any person ever in any shonen series.
Mm-hmm.
Some are lucky to have 2 or 3, but almost 100 kids? Damn. And she has 1 grandchild. 1. I'm like, you think with all those kids, many grandchildren? Nope, one.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our older kids are all in their, like we said, with Paris Spell, they're all in their 40s. I would have thought though that Katakuri, I would have thought you found a woman by now. I think they mentioned, I think he's like 44 in the manga,
Mm-hmm.
but he's the second tallest person in the whole entire series. I think like ones are not giants. I think the tallest is probably Kaido.
Yes, the Kaido fight is definitely the second longest in the series.
I mean, but in terms of height of the character, I think he's like the tallest character who's not a giant.
Oh, height. Okay, my
I would say
fault.
he's tallest. Second tallest is Big Mom, and third tallest is Katakuri. I mean, you
Yeah.
give these kids heights. I'm like, who the heck were these kids' fathers? I mean, the only one of her kids, we actually the parents are is Clifton and Pound, and that's it. Clifton and Lola, because their father was Pound. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
he's the only one to confirm basically that he's the father of two of Big Mom's kids. Who the heck these other ones are, no one knows. It's almost like Oda never maybe planned on doing it, but who knows? Like I think I read at one point. I think Big Mom, thanks to her one of her rampages, she accidentally killed two of her kids as adults. Thanks to her life energy sucking ability she has. It's weird when it comes to her how the heck she got that power is not exactly explained. Of how she can I get the rampage thing, she's had that for a long time, but where the heck you get Deborah power is a complete mystery for her. Kind of I think got hits from a lab in Punk Hazard.
Mm-hmm. But but yeah, and don't get it twisted. If you actually go into the manga and the actual source material of these shonen animes, the fights themselves can drag because you're still trying to keep up momentum, especially. But for a monthly series, this is the reason I say that. For a monthly series, this
Mm-hmm.
fight felt dragged out. Now if this was on like Naruto and the Big Three, this was on a weekly or bi-weekly schedule. Okay, an entire almost a volume and a half for a fight for a battle or yeah for a fight scene that makes sense. 4 or 5 chapters straight over the course of a fight, and this isn't even the conclusion of the fight. This is like the tail end. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, for a monthly, it's just the way I would do things.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to. We were originally going to save this for a separate video, but I at least wanted us to have an opening dialogue about it. The Boruto 2 Blue Vortex anime being announced. Now, we're not going to go into any major predictions or how we would do. We're going to save that for the larger video, but I at least wanted to have a brief conversation about that since
Mm-hmm.
the chapter is so straightforward.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about it very long. I think we got through in just 10 minutes.
Yeah, we usually do a 2, if not 3 chapters at a time, but again, scheduling conflicts and again, the outside of Sarada's Mangekyo reveal, there wasn't really too much added to this chapter to begin with. So
Yeah.
we have the room.
Uh-huh.
But other than the official announcement, yeah, rebranding straight to Two Blue Vortex is probably the best course of action. I wouldn't even adapt the Omnipotence arc. If you're gonna adapt the Omnipotence arc, either do it as a flashback or an OVA. That would be the safest option.
Yep. But I would do it probably at the start per se, because if these episodes like if they skip over that initially, people are like, wait, why is everybody basically hitting Baruto now? Like, why do they think this all this other stuff? Because if they skip over that right away, it'll be a bit confusing for the viewers. Do you
True,
think so?
to an extent, but you could also go media res with it. Like you can explore more of this impact, this new status quo. Naruto presumed dead, although he's in another dimension. Boruto's a political pariah.
Mm-hmm.
Kawaki is basking as the new golden boy. All the while, you still build intrigue. Now, whether or not you're still going to tie back to the original Flash Forward, whether Kawaki crashes out or not, that's a separate conversation. But you at least help build up to it. Like, okay, Kawaki was further concerned about Boruto and since Momoshiki was still in play. Kawaki got paranoid and tried to finish what he started. Naruto tried to stop him. I wouldn't. You could still have everything leading up to the omnipotence being casted, but I wouldn't adapt the full arc in its entirety. Really, you could do. It's only 3 chapters. You could really do the whole thing in one episode. I wouldn't drag it out or make an arc out of it
Yeah,
for the anime. You really could adapt the whole thing in one episode.
yes, but I would suggest getting more of the light novels in there before you do the main thing. You can just call it two Blue Vortex, but there's still more to it they can definitely adapt before they do start adapting the manga. I mean, they don't have necessarily do a filler story per se. Because I've heard a rumor, like I think it was this show, I think it was this one, or I think it was Super, I think it was. They're waiting for basically a bunch of filler content to be created before they announce another series for it, which I thought was kind of odd.
Yeah, they definitely don't want. Now, if you're going by Dragon Ball Super, that is, they don't want to fall into the same rut they did in 2015, where they had to retread the movies to buy time, and and yet, and if you were keeping up with Toei at the time, One Piece Gold was in. I want to say it was it One Piece Red or One Piece Gold in 2015?
Gold.
Gold, thank you. One Piece movie Gold was in post production at the time, so a lot of their heavy hitters in their anime department were prioritizing that.
I would
Meaning,
think that probably for that one, I would just the best option is to adapt the arc of the manga that came out right after Determined Survival arc. And there's plenty of manga that they could adapt for a quick season for the show.
I mean, yeah, Broly is pretty straightforward. You could probably get about a good 4 or 5 episodes out of that because it's really just one big fight scene.
Because there's actually arc that takes place where it reveals like there was like this other guy Goku fights. He is working for the Galactic Police briefly.
Moro art.
Yeah, that arc could easily be anime because that arc was so good in the manga.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Because the Broly movie, it kind of did the Resurrection F situation where it was referenced, but they didn't really adapt the arc. They just referenced it. They just referenced the movie.
Yep, and then I think they had another arc build up to Superhero, which is where Dr. Dro's grandson came in because in the manga he was introduced prior to the movie as a antagonist for Goten and Trunks before they got in trouble with their moms.
Which on
Oh,
the surface, which Tokusetsu, hijinks ensue, Great Saiyaman, and all that. But again, the reason that ended up getting cut short is I'm not that Goten and Trunks can't carry a manga volume, but that's something you do for a spin-off manga or a one shot. Like you set the state that doesn't take attention from the mainline manga or the mainline series because it's too short. Even the Great Saiyaman mini art with like Gohan's identity, getting blackmailed by Videl, that took and setting up Goku's return for the day to compete in the tournament, 25th tournament, that took place over the course of like 3 chapters.
mm-hmm.
That did not need to be a full on arc. The superhero prequel arc or the
the
Saiyaman
great the Great Saiyaman arc is what it was called in the anime.
Great Saiyaman arc. Thank you again. It's yeah. It's roughly in the anime. It was roughly 3 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
one episode for each chapter. Which best case scenario, you're probably going to squeeze 2 chapters in there in terms of structure, since outside of Videl blackmailing Gohan to teach to train her and train her how to fly and use ki, it doesn't really impact anything. Whereas with Goten and Trunks, I feel like at least in that context, you could tell it was padding and we're just dragging it out. And this was even before Toriyama passed, respectfully.
Yes, and there was a couple chapters set after the last movie where Goku is seen come back to Earth after being for what happened with the event Superhero, and you see him pick up his granddaughter from school, which I thought would be that was so cute to see that. That could make a season ending of that could make a season finale. That particular scene, just mention the movie happened, and just basically have us after the movie and just do that one chapter. I think that chapter was the last chapter written by Toriyama before the series went on hiatus for a while.
Yeah, and this was before. Yeah, but yeah, I definitely agree to that. But just hear me out. Let me cook. Let me cook on this. What if Super comes back seasonally, and you adapt mostly Moro? You adapt mostly Moro and Granola, since the granola arc, you don't really is pretty straightforward. You don't really need a lot of filler, but you split into 2 seasons. The
Mm-hmm.
first season on a seasonal structure or seasonal budget. The first season would be Moro and then a chunk of the Granola arc.
Mm-hmm.
And then the latter half would be Granola and maybe an anime redux of superhero. Or if you really had to, just combobulate everything together and just do superhero from Goten and Trunks' perspective.
Yeah, I think I remember there was an arc where Goku and Vegeta went to Universe 6 to help out that male Saiyan from Universe 6. Remember him?
Kaba, they were teasing a Universe 6 Sadala arc, but they never got around to it.
I think in the manga they did a brief excursion to Universe 6.
Briefly, when Kaba was recruiting Caulifla for the tournament, but that's about as
I
far as
think
it
in the
got.
manga it was afterwards. I think there was an arc where they went there. I mean that lasted very long. I think it was after Morrow. I think it was because right after Morrow, because I thought that I remember that they went over there, but I think they may have was off screen maybe because when people think of the manga, like it's Morrow, then it's the stuff built to superhero, then it's post superhero for like one chapter. Because for some weird reason, Toriyama decided to adapt the movie for the manga for some weird reason. Because initially the manga was like a lot of it was like alternate versions of the what was shown in the anime. Like there was alternate version of Universe Survival, how basically Kaba recruited Kale, where he just basically was like driving a jeep in the anime. He wasn't driving a vehicle at all.
Well, at least with the super manga at the time, it kind of became more of a promotional piece, where the
Mm-hmm.
anime was more the mainline was more the mainline product.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're talking about Dragon Ball, but please bear with us. But yeah,
A
that was
Dragon Ball Fire Boruto. Well, the Naruto franchise.
yeah. There were some differences, and even the Future Trunk, even the Goku Black arc has a better finale in the manga.
Mm-hmm.
They just, but there are some differences. There are some improvements. But the last thing I believe, Super, and even this applies to Boruto 2 Blue Vortex as well, is that I would prefer an OVA since again the omnipotence arc or Ada, being coerced into casting it by Kawaki. That's roughly an episode worth of material. That's roughly three chapters. Chapters 78, 79, and 80. That is it.
Yep.
You could either serve that as a movie or a one episode or one shot OVA.
Mm-hmm.
You do not need to drag that out. Now, if you want to just rebrand the title and pick up right where the anime left, right where part one left off, anime wise, you could sprinkle some novel adaptations in there, but you would risk a lot of poor momentum because they're expecting what's going on currently in the manga. They're expecting the raising of the stakes, Boruto being a pariah, but instead we're getting novel adaptations. You just have to build up to it, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And you can establish basically how take a little break, do like this one novel, the one with Shikamaru, you can establish it as a flashback because Oki is dead in the series.
Yes, he died in the Akuta arc,
Mm-hmm.
which that arc it's better when you actually binge the series or get the physical DVDs. But watching week to week, the Akuta arc was a slog to get through.
I heard that was Parrot's way of basically because they just stretch his arc out for no reason because they apparently had no plans for the show at that point. So best solution, stretch his arc out for 20 straight episodes. Make it the longest arc of the entire Boruto series. Like, not even the Chunin exam was that long.
No, the movie recap was 15.
Yeah.
Well, really, that's only if you count episode 50 and 51 as transition episodes. Officially, it's 13, 52 onward with Naruto missing Boruto's birthday.
The opening arc, that took up the first 14 episodes.
Yep, with the new arc, about 14.
Yes.
The Naruto Gaiden adaptation took up about 6, 9 if we're counting transition episodes.
Yes, I think Hit and Miss, that took up almost 10.
Yes.
Not that it didn't feel very long per se. And heck, when they went back to Hit and Miss, that I think that was also I think it was about 10 episodes, I think that was.
Maybe 12. Maybe
Yeah.
12 if you
Well,
count.
they fought the pirates.
Yes, when they fought the pirates. The
Hmm.
I forget what the official arc is called, but that was every bit 12 episodes.
Yeah. There was one episode, I put this on the Wicca, and someone had to erase it because they just didn't care. It was the episode, I think it was just before the Care arc, uh, where you had an episode of the series where you had Sasuke and Sai team up to go to the ruins of Hidden Rain Village. And I pointed out though, this is the first episode of the entire franchise these two have ever done a team up. Because the only time these two ever interacted was during
The
it was
Orochimaru. The Orochimaru arc.
yes, it was second arc of Shippuden.
Yes, where
That was
Sai
that was the only time they ever interacted. The
yeah,
entire series.
where Sai was ordered to be a stand the pretty much was reassigned to Team 7 for the sole purpose of assassinating Sasuke. I don't even think they fought. In the manga, Sasuke just bound Sai to a genjutsu and moved right up the pillar to fight Naruto and the others.
Because I think he basically did a move on him, and he says correct strike, but his Yamato says incorrect strike, and that was the only interaction these two ever had. And it's kind of weird that they couldn't have any more interaction besides that. Heck, you would have thought that maybe they interacted during the wedding arc. Nope, they never saw each other.
No, Sasuke was away on a mission at the time. If you read the novels.
Yes.
A lot of people got paired up during that. I mean, in that, say what you will about the blank period overall, but in those 2 years leading to Naruto the Last, the only ones who actively didn't get together were Naruto, Hinata leading up to that. Sasuke and Sakura pretty much got together. Well, Sasuke and Sakura took about a year.
Mm-hmm.
That took about a year. I believe by the time Naruto the Last rolled around, Sasuke and Sakura had just officially gotten together.
Yes. Chocho, for him and his life, I'm not sure when these two hooked up at all.
It's implied it took place during Sakura's post-Shippuden novel, but yeah, Choji and I forget her name, but she's from the Hidden Cloud. But Choji and Chocho's mom, they had no interaction or chemistry prior to the events of that novel.
Yeah, Kiba and his girlfriend, because these two, for some weird reason, these two never got married, despite these two been dating 15 years. They actually met in the Hidden Leaf Perfect Day for Wedding arc. That's when these two met. Because
I could have sworn in the anime filler they met earlier to that. They just didn't get together until Naruto Hinata's wedding.
I think it's when they first met because it's like, she got together with her, and I'm like, okay, so Sai married Ino, Sakura married Shikamaru, Naruto married Hinata.
Mario married Shikamaru, Sakura married Sasuke.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm like, Kiba, it's his girlfriend, yes, but I'm like, these two never got married.
Well, Kiba's a ninja hound user, and the other stems from a clan that's revered to cats.
Yes, but they love each other. I'm like, wouldn't they allow these two to get married?
I mean, if Kiba did marry her, it would technically create a cats and dogs situation to where their families would constantly be feuding. So the safest thing to say is just to remain a committed relationship, even if they never officially get married.
And it's weird these two never had kids.
I mean, and even in the new Boruto cast, you had an opportunity to give Kiba a daughter, like the one who uses the cat powers. Just have her be Kiba's daughter, and she just takes after her mom. It's an easy fix.
Yeah, and instead, Kiba's dog had puppies.
I mean, Akamaru, he's an older dog. A dog's going to do what a dog's got to do. But I feel like Kiba is always going to be the Yamcha of the Naruto verse. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Shino, it's like, became a teacher and nothing else.
Was it.
It's like he never had no interest in women.
I wouldn't say that. I feel like Shino's core arc was just to develop bond with his comrades and better socialize with people. That was his main arc.
Yeah. Heck, even Rock Lee got married to some no-name woman. We don't know who the heck the mom is.
There actually are some behind-the-scenes rumors that it's alleged that Rock Lee and Tenten had a post-war rebound while grieving for Neji, but ultimately broke it off by the time Metal was born.
Mm-hmm. But who the heck Metal's mom was, I think Kishimo was very tight-lipped about that. I don't know if he's ever been asked about that.
Again, this is just rumors I heard. There's nothing officially confirmed. Now, if you look at it from a production standpoint leading up to the movie, yeah, the idea was considered where Rock Lee and Tenten did have a bit of a fling while grieving for Neji, but it ultimately didn't work out between them. But to the point to where they had a kid, and then Tenten ended up a single mom, but Metal idolizes his dad. It's different in Japan to where they don't really, single parent households. They don't really They don't really cater to that much. And Boruto has arguably an even younger demographic than Naruto had, so it just wouldn't be in good taste. So although I could see the argument for Rock Lee and Tenten, it was likely scrapped before it could ever materialize.
Yeah, and the only thing confirmed by Tenten had with her post-time skip, she started a weapon shop.
And even then, you could still make the argument that Rock Lee and Tenten shagged. You just can't tie her Tenten to being Metal's mom, but you could still make the argument that they shagged.
Yes. Did you know in her shop she actually kept one of the weapons as a spoil of war?
She did, one of the legendary weapons. I forget which one though.
I thought that was kind of interesting because I think that weapon belongs to another village. I think it belonged to Hidden Cloud.
Hidden Cloud. With the Ginga and Kinga brothers.
Yes, but I think the reason why she would keep because she was able to use it properly.
Yeah, she was the only one who could directly utilize her chakra to wield it with little to no drawback.
And apparently Hidden Cloud had no problem with her keeping it.
Well, it's not a hit and miss situation to where they're a cultural heirloom of their village, like the hit and miss, for example. Like when Zabuza went rogue with the Executioner Blade, that's one of the main reasons he ended up in the Bingo book. Not so much for being a rogue ninja who made an attempt on Yagura, but specifically to get the Executioner Blade back.
Yeah, and if you watch the main series, because you have it where I think it was Hirozen's sword, the one who was the shark skin one.
Samehada.
Yes, where you had Killer Bee have it, and then after the series wrapped up, we don't see it again until we go to Hidden Mist arc, where it's back with the Hidden Mist, and the anime does not explain how they had to get back. Apparently, that's explained in a data book.
That it is. Killer Bee gave it back.
It's weird. I would have thought they would have included it in the anime, but they didn't. I think that's a fallen paradox for that part.
Likely, but the official story on that is that Killer Bee, either begrudgingly by or as a gesture of peace with the United Shinobi Alliance, was to give Samehada back to the Hidden Mist as a gesture of goodwill, even if Killer Bee did technically win it by beating Kisame.
Yes, and I believe that Kakashi, I'm sure he was very happy to get back the Executioner's Blade back to Hidden Mist because he got that from Zabuza.
He did. Well, really, Naruto used it as Zabuza's tombstone.
Yeah. As for the other weapons, I know the other ones got the weapons, but it's never shown if they actually picked them up afterwards because I know Zabuza, Kakashi kept it the whole time, throughout the entire war. And then for some weird reason, during everybody's under the jutsu, the sword just disappears. He had it on his back after they sealed Zabuza.
Because it was technically teleported.
The sword just disappears off screen.
Because it was technically teleported by a space-time jutsu. It was technically teleported to them. So without Zabuza's chakra as an anchor or the caster, I can't remember if it was Zabuza himself who casted the jutsu or if it was the other 7. But once the jutsu was undone, Samehada was returned to... the Executioner Blade was returned as Zabuza's tombstone in the Great Naruto Bridge. And there's in one of the post-Shippuden novels, I want to say it was Konoha Shinden, but I could be wrong, Naruto had a quell of conscience before ultimately giving the sword back.
It's almost like... I think details like that should be included in the anime, but I'm thinking that's Parrot's part for rushing the story a little bit here and there.
Yeah, because they were trying to wrap everything up in time for Boruto Naruto the movie April 5th of 2015, I want to say.
I think so, because the movie came out here in March of 2016.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure the original Japanese release was in spring, if not early summer 2015.
Because I actually got the DVD I bought it from Walmart, and then a month after the movie came out here, that's when the Boruto anime started up.
Yep.
And for some weird reason, did you? I don't know if you remember this. Uh, Boruto didn't stick on the same day the whole time it aired. Like I remember it first aired on Wednesdays, and then it switched to Thursday, and then for some weird reason switched to Sunday, and it stuck that way for the rest of the series. Did you notice that?
I did. If I remember correctly, it was Wednesday up until the movie recap because because that was when when Toonami was still syndicating the dub. Then after the movie recap or Momoshiki arc, it moved over to Thursdays. And I want to say it stayed on the Thursday slot the longest. After they came back from COVID is when they switched over to Sundays.
Which I think at that around that point in time, that's when I start watching on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, because it was on Verve when it first started. Verve lasted a good 5-7 years before Crunchyroll finally got their streaming service off the ground.
Yes, I subscribed to Funimation, the Crunchyroll streaming service in April of 2020.
Yep.
I mainly got it so I can watch the film for Saga Ton Evil because
that was a good movie.
Yes, which they cut. They actually cut some stuff out of the movie. Like there was a scene involving. There was that famous tank commander from World War One who, if you see the Patton movie, he's like Patton's off-screen rival.
Yep.
It's like he chased him. He's actually in the original book.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wait, why is he in this movie? Like, they cut him, and they cut this really interesting scene from the book where they're actually in Moscow and they're destroying a lot of this stuff. And in the movie, it's like, oh, they just randomly got a film and videotaped themselves, like, doing all the destruction.
It's Momoshiki Nemo Strange.
Yeah.
It's Momoshiki.
Yeah, Momoshiki. Basically, Tanya contacts her troops, says, oh, isn't there a propaganda studio nearby? Go radio, give me a camera so we can basically videotape this. Because in the movie, there's no mention of her doing that at all. Because it's like they do destruction and then photo up, move on. It's like they rushed that scene for some weird reason. Because I remember that from the original book. That movie was mostly adapted from, I think it was book 4.
Yes.
Of the novel series for Saga, which
book 4, and I believe the first chapters of book 5, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and for some reason, like after that, nothing, and then they released the OVA. I think it was just a year or two ago. They released the OVA, where it was all about spaghetti.
Yep.
And that's when it announced, oh, we're getting a season 2. I'm like, that's awesome. And here's the weird thing about the Saga movie. It's still not dubbed. I would have thought, though, with Funimation merging with Crunchyroll, that we might get a dub. Heck, Monica Rial would love to see a dub, too, because she's the voice of Tanya. But still no dubbing for that movie.
Nope.
Isn't that weird?
But a lot of animes are moving over to high dive for their adaptations. For example, Eminence in Shadow is high dive.
Yes.
Danmachi, or Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon?
I think that one has all 5 seasons on there, but Crunchyroll has seasons 2 and 3 on their streaming service.
Yes, but High Dive has all 5.
Uh-huh.
Which recently wrapped up with the
5th season.
Yeah.
Which
but I want to say it's based off the Hestia, the what's the name of that goddess who's obsessed over Belle? I forget her name. Freya, yeah, the Freya arc. Which I'm not mad by it, but I feel like they could have done more because the Freya arc is a huge bulk of the series.
In the anime, I'd say, because I watched the anime and I read the light novels, the first 2 books did a really good job with. It's the final book that kind of rushed.
Yes.
Because they a lot of the action they keep pretty much in from the actual original story. They mostly put kind of like the first episode of that last the book 18. It cut a lot of stuff from the opening 2 chapters, like a lot of conversations.
It did.
I thought it was weird they did that. I would have thought that'd be better. Like, I think that, and this is not the fault, I think this is fault JC staff for doing this, because the previous season had 22 episodes.
It did.
And this season had, I think it was 16. I think it was
16, so there were obvious budget cuts.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, because I know the season came out 1 year after the previous season did, but couldn't they just do 22 again? But and then, for some weird reason, partway into that last arc, production issues propped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, because if you're watching Don Machi season 5 week to week, yeah, they took a brief hiatus halfway through the season.
They did two waves. They did two of them. First was for 1 week for Thanksgiving, and then they took another hiatus for 2 months. Because last year was the year of, let's have shows go on hiatus because of production issues. Because it was Israel Trogo's Dungeon, Afria, One Piece, so One Piece had a reason. Our last Crusade in the Riders of the World, that went a hiatus, but it's dub is coming back hopefully next week. Like several shows last year. I'm like, what happened with all these shows that we had to have claiming production issues that would delay it? Now, I'm thinking it's on the people who make the actual episodes, like the animation. I think it's on their fault of why these episodes were delayed. It's not on people who wrote the episodes or the voice actors. It's on the animation people. Like, maybe they're behind schedules, so they had to delay it.
Try to push back on something, because again, by the time you get to the scheduled release date, a majority of the episodes are done, but there's still that gap during syndication where the latter half need to be touched up. Mm-hmm. So it could have been a time crunch, it could have been an overhaul. We'll likely never really know, but yeah, they did take a week off for Thanksgiving because it's a holiday. And yeah, I want to say it was around episode 12. They took that 2-month hiatus around episode 12, 13, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
But back to Boruto. I'm just wondering if Blue Vortex is getting adapted because the final episodes end. Yeah, but that's not what's really setting up Blue Vortex. That was just an anime original ending because there was no time to set up the Omnipotence arc prior to the anime being, on hiatus. It wasn't canceled. It was on hiatus. But then a lot of stuff.
They decided to do that because they cut up with the manga.
That, and they were going to push back. They were going to prioritize Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War.
Which I've heard that part 4 is not coming out until next year.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. You knew Core 4 was going to get delayed. Like, come on.
Yeah. And here's something they could have done while the work on that. They could have. Here's something that people might find shocking that Para could do. How about releasing Black Clover episodes while we were waiting for this stuff? Because Black Clover, there's plenty of manga they could adapt for an anime. Plenty. It's been out there for 4 freaking years, and yet no anime return. Nothing.
Oh, that's right. Black Clover has been on hiatus for 2-3 years now?
4 years. They went off there in March 2021.
4 years.
Yeah. And at that point, they cut out with manga. The manga has since released almost 200 chapters since then in 4 years. Though the manga switched from doing weekly to once every 3 or 4 months, 2 or 3 months.
Quarterly. They went to quarterly.
Yeah, because of the writer's health, which does help. But there's plenty of chapters you could have now. Plenty. No,
Tabby.
Focus on Bleach.
Different studio.
Parrot made Black Clover.
Studio Parrot is responsible for the majority of the big 3. The only one they're not responsible for is One Piece that is strictly Toei.
Yes,
but they
because Black Clover, basically the only major animes they've done in the last 20 years people would know of is Naruto Shippuden, Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War.
Wait, did they do Space Dance? No, that was Studio Bones. That was Studio Bones. Never mind.
Yeah, and Black Clover, they worked on this one for a long time. Was weekly for the longest time.
Wait, what studio did My Hero Academia? Because I know it wasn't. Oh, there were Bones too? Okay, thank you for confirming that. But yeah, Bones really took off in the 2010s. But I will say this, Daima. Yes, quick nod. We are reacting to episodes 19 and 20. Hopefully tomorrow at 6 p.m. if everything goes well. But yeah, Dragon Ball.
If Parrot's too busy with Bleach, switch studios. They did that for Blue Exorcist and Black Butler.
Yeah, but I would not trust Toei with the Naruto franchise. I just wouldn't
Now,
trust it.
I'm not just saying Naruto. I'm just saying like maybe Black Clover or
Oh
maybe
yeah, yeah. Toei could actually do pretty good with Black
uh,
Clover.
Dave Production.
Yep, they're a good one too. Day production.
As far as I can tell, the only anime air right now is Fire Force.
And funny enough, we never got a crossover, or not even a crossover movie with Fire Force and Soul Eater. Like you would think for the 20th anniversary, we would have gotten at the very least a crossover OVA.
Yeah, but there hasn't been any at all.
Though to
Um,
be though to be fair, Soul Eater not NOT flopped, and Soul Eater not it's not bad, but it's definitely a downgrade compared to the main series. But I'm not gonna say it was
I
bad.
like the main series, not actually adapt the ending, the actual ending of the manga.
Oh, it deviated like the Medusa arc onward.
Yeah, but solely or not the Pickle
Soul
series.
Yeah, Soul Eater not is pretty straightforward because it definitely leads up into Sid's death and becoming a zombie.
And
So
weird enough that so some of the manga is short chapters for some weird reason. I'm not sure why they did this for the series, but they did.
yeah, Soul Eater not is technically an anthology title, at least the way it's structured.
It's basically the best way to describe it is how characters met each other in the main series,
Pretty much.
with the exception of Maka and Soul, because they're already partners by the time of Soul or not,
Yeah, so
or
yeah,
Tabaki and Black Star. We don't
yeah.
see their relationship. The only one of the pairings we see in the main series, we do see there the main ones, is Death and the Thompson
Thompson twins.
sisters.
The Thompson twin. Well, Thompson
Yes,
sisters, not twins. Excuse me,
yes,
Thompson sisters. But yeah,
that's really one.
that's because Kid, Liz, and Patty, they didn't have to go through the knot class. At least Kid didn't.
Yeah, I think we also see. I think it's the two girls. The two. I think it was Jackie. I think her name was.
Jackie and Kim. Jackie and Kim.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, it's like the anime was something was implied lesbian attraction between two of them, and one's like not interested.
Yeah,
It's
Jackie
weird.
was kind of like one sided or unrequited because Kim ends up with Ox. And in the main series, it didn't lead to that. Yeah, there was a side gap where Jacqueline was annoyed by Ox with being a brainiac and a know it all, but it wasn't a love triangle between the three.
Yes, and also the fact that the leads of Soul or Not, it's almost like these three women had a thing for each other. Like there was implied a lesbian relationship between the three of them, but it's never really shown, but it's implied.
Again, I have not
They have
seen
like
the
two
manga.
women using one same weapon at the same time, and it just it's all being it's you watch a show,
Ambiguous is implied.
it's all implied, and then they come back and break. Oh, she's got a third partner, and they call her basically a cheater, or basically it's something. It's weird. It's weird for the series. We have two Meisters being host the same, being part of the same weapon.
And her weapon form is a spear.
Yes, not a scythe like Souls is. I think
And
Tsubaki is a sword.
Tsubaki has various weapon styles, but her most famous one is the one she took from her brother when she defeated him, which was the Black Sword mode. But
Yep.
And yeah, the anime did not do Black Star justice. He was comedic relief, but in the anime, Black Star comes across as just as a pompous blowhard. But in the manga, he's completely different in the manga.
And also the fact Tabaki's father treats him like a son.
Yeah, and yeah, there is Spirit still being a horn dog and being the preferred death scythe of a generation, and he let the fame go to his head. But he is characterized a lot different in the manga. At least in the manga, he despite the relationship with him and Kami falling apart, you can tell in the manga he has genuine remorse about how that situation went down. In the anime, it's just played up as Spirit being a horn dog who can't help himself.
Yeah. Or the fact Soul, and I know Soul did this to Maka where he poked fun of her size.
Now, I don't know if this
Their
was
father basically was standing right there.
yeah, brazen. But I don't know if this was ever implied in Soul Eat or not. But at least in interviews, they did confirm that Soul and Maka did briefly date when they were first assigned to each other in the NOT class. but it ultimately didn't work out between them.
And yet these two live together.
So at the very least, they maintained a stable partnership and resonance. They ended on good terms, at the very least.
Or the fact that Maka keeps beating up Soul for basically having Blair on top of him. Just like Blair is the one initiating it.
And the fact that she's a cat who happens to have magical powers. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but that's basically bestiality in my mind.
Yep, and she's voiced by Leah Clark, Blair.
Who treats who like a son? Spirit and Blackstar. But anyone seen Galaxias and Manwa?
No, I have not. Don't know who those two are. Is Spirit Tabaki's father?
Spirit, yes. No, Spirit is Maka's father.
Yeah, I'm talking about Tabaki's father. He treats Blackstar like a son in the manga.
Yeah, in the manga, you could tell Blackstar and Tsubaki are paired together. There is literally towards the end with the Anubis seal, and mild spoilers, mind you, that there's this whole gender bent gag, and Tsubaki is literally the last one to turn back to normal because she's actively repressed that Blackstar refuses to make a move. Like, it's played up for a gag, and I'm like, Blackstar's the youngest out of any of you. Of course he's not going to make a move. He's 14.
I think Tabaki's supposed to be 18. I think 18 or 19 in the series.
Wait, Tsubaki's post-adolescent? I thought she was 16.
I mean, she's very tall.
Yeah, she's very tall. Yeah, the oldest is Liz. Blackstar and Patty are around the same age. So Patty's about 15. Blackstar is 14. Tsubaki and Maka are about 16. Kid is roughly...
Isn't Maka about 13?
Maka is 13 when the series begins, yes. 13 to 14. Excuse me.
How about Soul is about the same age?
Yes, Soul is about 15 if I remember correctly. I'll have to go through the data book again. But Soul is about 15 when the series begins.
Yeah, and I found out the deviant point where in the series where they actually in the manga, it's the point where they make a deal with Medusa. Because in the anime, that's because she left, she was released. In the manga, she actually worked with DMA to capture her sister's base.
Yes, with Arachne, and she used the little girl Rachel as a vessel and hostage.
Yeah, in the anime, it's like, nope, not doing that. We're doing something else.
Galaxis is basically One Piece with dragons. It also delves into a bit of fantasy sci-fi, manhwa or Korean comics. I actually have seen like the God of High School and Solo Leveling. Those are some manhwa comics I've read.
I've read a little bit of God of High School. I've read a lot of Solo Leveling. I've not read. I think it was there was one. I think it was like there was a one called Tower something. Tower something. I remember the name of it. I've heard about it, but I've never read it. I read like the first couple of chapters of God of High School, but I never finished it because basically I got busy with other stuff. So Soul Leveling at least is a very interesting series. Except the weird thing is, if you read the manga, like the collective books, it's like they say it's these chapters, but in actuality, those are the chapters, because these chapters look like about 40, 50 pages apiece. Despite the fact those not the actual chapters collecting those things, it's actually different chapter numbers, which I thought was really weird. Because I had to look up online after, like, it's like, wait, this doesn't match. And I'm like, oh, it's this chapter.
It is.
And I've heard Soul Leveling is a good series, but I just haven't watched it yet because I want to finish reading the main, because I'm almost done with the original manga before I watch the series.
Yeah, but the parody for Solo Leveling, I've heard it's hilarious.
I've heard God of High School people didn't like that one because they rushed it. Oh, Tower God, that's one I heard of. Never read it or watched the anime for it. I've noticed the last few years, manhwa are getting adapted for anime. It's like some say this all started with Solo Leveling. When that got adapted, that opened the door for these manhwa to be adapted.
Yeah, definitely leading up to the pandemic, especially. But the biggest acclaim was Tower of God and God of High School. Those were the biggest titles in the 2010s.
Yeah, but I heard the God of High School one. That one got a lot of flack, the anime adaptation, because they rushed it. Because they just do fight instead of just death and middle stuff. Which I heard a lot of people are very unhappy about that one.
Yeah, but if Soul, we'll probably do a separate video on this eventually. But if Soul Eater does get another adaptation or a remake, just overhaul it like you did Brotherhood.
I would suggest basically, this is my suggestion. Pick up right where the canon stuff stopped for the original series and go from that point forward. So you have to basically readapt 40, 50 chapters of manga. That's already been adapted for canon. That's what I suggest doing with the remake of the anime. Just have it where all the filler stuff is ignored and just pick up right where the canon stuff left off.
Which I want to say it was around the raid on Iraq, not really Arachne's base. They were kind of forwarding a plant. Yeah, it's likely never to happen, Nemo, but it's how we would do it. I doubt it'll.
There's a rumor I heard that the reason why that Fire Force Season 3 got delayed because I think that Dave Production may have been thinking working on a remake for Soul Eater. That's the rumor I've heard. I don't know if it's really true or not. But if Dave Production is doing it, I'm like, that would make sense. Get back to doing Fire Force.
Yeah, because Fire Force has officially ended 2 years ago.
The manga.
The manga. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The manga officially ended 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I was watching the anime Friday. They're actually almost done with the arc they're doing right now with his Obi's rescue. They have I think 1 or 2 episodes left to go, and then they're moving on to Return to St. Raphael's, which that's a quick arc. That is 4 chapters, that arc. 4 chapters. Maybe they did with the Iris arc, where it was that was 4 chapters, but they had that for 1 episode. It depends on what their production wants to do.
Yes, it does.
The arc's been interesting so far. The Obi's rescue. Seeing Arthur take on the guy Dragon for the first time. And the funniest part of this whole arc, Obi doing flexing in order to avoid one of the bugs biting him. I actually find that kind of funny. You have this guy ripped, and you have his team basically giving him compliments on his physique. I'm like, that's the one thing he's known for. He's basically he works a lot in this series. He's basically just really strong. He has no powers like the other characters do. And because I remember in the series, it's confirmed he's the only one of Squad A who has no powers.
You're right.
Heck, even Lieutenant's got powers. It's basically his bullets. Though his funny gag is different hats he wears every time he shows up in the series. His hats have the funniest things on them. And yes, they do have the thing where I think it's Tamaki. One calls it the lucky one. And yes, in the show, her clothes do fly off when she does something really weird. This time was basically just her pants, but don't worry, she's not going naked.
One of these days, Nick, you're going to get me demonetized.
Well, you have to watch the show, you know what I mean. I'll tell you when we're not live about what happened in one of the episodes in this arc with Tamaki. I'll tell you I'll tell you offline.
All right.
But I don't think there's much anything else to say about this chapter. Do you?
Yeah, there's not really too much to say.
Yep. Yeah.
But all in all, this was a pretty decent chapter. Definitely a solid payoff to Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan. Though not too much really to say on its own. It definitely left us on a cliff note with Boruto making his move and defying Kajin Koji's orders.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really know what to expect going into chapter 22 in a couple of days, if I'm being completely honest.
Mm-hmm.
You?
I'm looking forward to it. I think I remember correctly. I think it was confirmed in Shippuden that her grandfather also had it too.
I want to say in the anime.
I think the anime did confirm that he had it too.
Yeah, the Mangekyo. but he never used it against Itachi
Nope.
because he couldn't bring himself to fight him.
Because Itachi had it. I know the other people who confirmed the series. I know who had it was Itachi, Sasuke, now Sadara, Sasuke's father. I know
Kakashi.
Mandarin had it.
Madara.
Yeah. Kakashi / Obito because they shared eyes. I think that was it.
Indra, but he's an ancient descendant of the Uchiha, ancient ancestor of the Uchiha.
Yes, and I think the Sage Six Paths. I know his mom had the
Kage.
Byakugan, which is so weird when Naruto saw her. And I'm like, wait, that's the same ability that Hinata has. Like, he said nothing about her eyes. Like, as a viewer, we know that. But how come not? It's a weird thing that Naruto did not notice that about her eyes at all.
Your guess is as good as mine on that.
I'm blaming Kishimoto for that.
But with all that being said, I think that's about a good time to call it. Nick, thank you so much for joining me. But anything you got coming up or want to announce on the channel?
I just got some more videos to work on for anime and comic corners, and that's it.
As for me, you can find me at JHeatBlaze or JHeat75. I do reactions, comics, video games, video game playthroughs, just about everything. But thank you so much for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe. Blame off.